Dalet the Tamuz, Shir Chali, Parshas Pinchas. Ow! It's recording,
Right. Maybe somebody be quiet. Did you have to do that? That was something that was obligatory? It's not possible to move down a little bit. Well, I was supposed to throw out you guys sitting there. I couldn't get a table. Where's the toilet? Oh, you couldn't get a table over there? Listen, Michael, I want to stop throwing things, okay? I don't want any throwing things inside this shield, alright? Alright, so we're turning tonight to chapter Pinchas, chapter... Oh, sorry.
You say the date and stuff?
Yes.
Chapter Kof Vav. Pasuk Nun Beis. Please be quiet. Now, anybody that starts talking, we'll just ask him to leave. But I want absolute quiet. But after the whole Maisa with Pinchas, what the Maisa with Pinchas was at the end of last week's Parsha, but the promise of the Eivish to Pinchas, and the description at great length of all the mishpachas and all the members of the Shvatim. We come in Parsha Shlishi to the dividing up of Eretz Yisrael. Now, it's well known that, quote in Sforim in many places, that Dafki in the 3 weeks we read in the Parshas of the 3 weeks, we read in Yonim which are connected Dafki with the division of Eretz Yisrael. Both in this Parsha and then later on in the coming 2 Parshas, we deal with the interdivision, what's called the Chalukah of Eretz Yisrael. And Dafki comes out in the Parshas which are read in the 3 weeks, in the Gimel Shavuos. What that's a remez to the fact that Yidden must never be Messiah Chas v'Sholem. From the Golas, they have to know that even though they may today's time absolutely built him more, and they may happen to be in the Golas, of their Indian has to be Eretz Yisrael and the Knesset Miyadiyah. Eretz Yisrael, so therefore we need to know all the dinim, all the inyonim, how to divide up Eretz Yisrael v'chulu. What is brought down in the Gemara in Bava Basra that even the Yosid, when Melech HaMashiach will be Miskala, and all Yidden will go back to Eretz Yisrael, then there'll be a new division, a new Chalukah of Eretz Yisrael, and we'll maybe mention that towards the end of this year, that there's certain inyonim in that Chalukah which is connected with the, well, it's very similar to the Chalukah which is mentioned here, the division of Eretz Yisrael. So that's what we see here in Pasuk Nun Beis. Vayidaba Hashem el Moshe v'Omer lo eile teicholech ha'oretz panachalo v'mispar shemoi. To these people, meaning the der, not the der Hamidbar that they went out of Mitzrayim, because they, Rachman in Itzlan, they all, because of the Chet HaMaraglim, they had to remain in the Midbar. Avadavkid to the new generation, the der Shalahem, the Bonim Shalahem, and those of them who've just been or about to be mentioned or have been mentioned, those of them over 20 years old, and they're already shy to be Yotzei Tzavor. Avadavkid to those people, the actual land is going to be divided actual land is going to be divided up in the halakim to each tribe, to these people, not to the Ramidbar, and not even to the people, as Rashi points out, even the people who are going to go into Eretz Yisrael, and they will take 14 years until they actually finish the dividing up of Eretz Yisrael. But these people, in the way they are now, and according to the number of sons that they have now, not according to the number of sons that will be born between then and when the land is actually divided, for Puyo Mamish, those are the people who are going to be Yoirish, the Chalochim in Eretz Yisrael, meaning that even according to the numbers, wherever the numbers are important, that are now at this particular moment prior to the going over the Yarden into Eretz Yisrael, well, those are the ones that are going to determine the numbers, how we consider them when we eventually, 14 years later, divide up the land, and that's what it means. Lo eile techalecha oretz. Then the next passage says, Lo ruiv tarbe nachalasei. To those who've got more people, those who have more populace in their tribe, then you must give them a greater portion. Ulamiat tamit nachalasei. Those who have less people, they'll get a smaller portion of Eretz Yisrael. Ish lefi pikudov yutan nachalosei. Each man according to how he's been counted. Pikudov is from Russian counting in this case. How he's been counted in the census that took place here at this time prior to their going over into Eretz Yisrael, is according to that will be divided up the land, that those who have more in their, see Rashi learns, those who have more in their tribe, they will get a bigger portion, and those who have less in numbers in their tribe will get a smaller portion, and each one according to his numbers will gain his nachala. However, begoirol yecholech es ha'oret. However, the land has to be divided up by throwing of lot. Goirol means a casting of a lot. Lishmeis mateis avesam yin cholot. According to the names of the tribes of their forefathers, they will take their portion. Yin cholot, they'll take their portion. Al pi hagoirol, according to literally the statement of the goirol, techolek nachalasei. Each one's portion will be divided up. Pein rav miyat, whether it's more or whether it'll be less. So that immediately raises the shadow on the part of the intelligent reader. If you say that the majority will get a bigger one and the small will get a less one, then that's something al pi seichel. That makes sense. That the people who have more people, more populace, should get a bigger piece, and those who have less populace should get a smaller piece. Makes sense, and it seems fair according to seichel poshu. However, agoirol is something completely different. Agoirol is a lot which is thrown, and it makes absolutely no sense al pi seichel. In other words, that it would appear almost as we don't know how to divide it up, so then we say let's throw lots. Yeah, well, people have things they want to split between them, and they don't know how to do it, so they throw lots to decide who's going to get the better one or who's going to get the worst one, and so on. That the union of a goyrol is a thing completely beyond seichel. So how does it come together that the loreiv ta'abeh, and nonetheless begoyrol yecholoch esa oret? And that goes according to the names of their fathers. Like there's a very complicated Rashi a little bit further on, where Rashi says that really the ones who really determine, the forefathers are the ones who determine the actual dividing, because the ones that went out of Mitzrayim, according to their fathers, we determine how the children relate to the actual piece of land that they're getting, according to the original fathers who went out of Mitzrayim. Well, that's quite a complex Inyan liatzmei, we're not going to go into in this class. However, if we look at Rashi in Posik Nun Dalet, where he says that you must divide it up according to the majority, according to number. We see that Rashi describes at some length, and he tells us exactly how the whole thing actually worked. But how did they actually divide up Eretz? How did they actually divide it up? And we see that it's got a whole series of amazing details which lead to three main factors, as we'll see in a minute. Now this is based on a Gemara Masechta Bava Basra in Perek Yesh Noichlen. It begins Daf Kuf Yud Zayin, goes all the way through to about Kuf Gimel, Kuf Kotel. It's about 7 blot Gemara, very complex, very demanding Gemara, which deals at great length with all the dinim. Also, those dinim brought up a bit later by the Benois Tlofchad, those daughters of this man that he passed away in the desert, that they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and claimed that they wanted the nachla that really belonged to their father, and the whole Indian that Moshe Rabbeinu stated, which is called Dinei Hanachlois, all that's brought in that particular thing. All that is brought in that particular sugya in the Gemara and Masechta Bava Basra. So, says Rashi like this: L'Rav Tarbe Nachalotzei, L'Shevet Shehoya Meruba B'Uklesin. To the one who's got the majority, you have to give a bigger portion. So Rashi said that's referring to the tribes. In other words, we're not talking about individual people. We're talking about the Shvatim. And the one who's the Shevet that's got the biggest Uklesin means populace. The Shevet that has the biggest populace, then that will get Nosnu Chelek Rav. They gave a big Chelek. Come on, really, you guys have to come on time. This whole business with the messing around with the chairs and the ganze Geschäft. So they got the biggest, the Shevet that had the most people and the most populace. Well, they're the ones that they got the biggest portion. Even though all the sections that were given were not equal. Everything was according to the majority of people in in other words, the populace of the Shevet. So Rashi says that even though everything was done according to Seichel, that they divided up the portions to the tribe who had the most, and so the tribe who had a bit less got a smaller portion, which means that the portions weren't equal at all. There were bigger portions and there were smaller portions. Nonetheless, says Rashi, they only did it according to a lot. Now, why would Rashi say that? Nonetheless, they only did it according to a lot. Because l'chayra, something, when is a chayich to talk about an emes agoiro, is when the chalakim are equal. In other words, all the chalakim were equal, but we don't know which one's going to take which. So then we throw our goyrel and say, you get this one and you get the other one. So Rashi said, even if they weren't according to equality at all, they weren't equal. No, some got a big one and some got a small one. That doesn't really make sense to make a girl, because if you're going according to who has more gets more, then that's a thing LP reasoning. That's LP seichel. And what do you need a girl for something which anyway is LP posher to seichel? And the Rashi says, nonetheless, despite the fact that they did divide it up in a way which makes order LP seichel, they did it in such a way that was LP agoiro. In other words, that there was like a union of seichel and l'mayla mia seichel. Didn't they? That's what I don't like people sitting behind. You would have had to, what's your name again? I think maybe you should find yourself a place around here. Either that or you have to pay attention. Alright? Don't sit and read in the safe over there for yourself. Okay. So therefore, there's a lot of things you can read in a Dvar Malchus. Anyway, So he says that they only made it according to the goyro. He said not only the goyro was a goyro, but it was also according to Ruach HaKodesh. Now what is that? Ruach HaKodesh and goyro would appear to be the same thing when you think about it. What is a goyro? You throw lots. So there's a pasuk in Mishlei which says that everything according to a lot is a divine gezerah that you can't be maharer neged. Once you've done it, then it has to be that. It has to be that way, because that is the most direct way that you can appeal to divine providence. I state in the Meforshim and in the Sfarim, when you get to a goyro, that's like appealing to the Eibishter that he show you his decision and his providence without any interference of normal human reasoning in the matter. When you throw a goyro, if you play fair and you accept the goyro, then you're asking the Eibishter to decide directly what is the case. And remember, a goyro is a gezerah from the Eibishter directly. And therefore, the pasuk says in Mishlei that b'chait yutal hagoyro, that usually it's done in a secret way. Usually people do it quietly in a hidden way. The al pi Hashem kol mishpotei. But according to the Eibishter, all of its laws and all of its way of functioning, it's completely a divine thing. So if we're already doing it al pi goyro, then what do we need to eat for Ruach HaKodesh? So we have to say that Ruach HaKodesh is like another madrega, slightly lower than the concept of goyro, and it was also necessary, as we'll see as we go along. So what was Al Pi Ruach HaKodesh? K'moshe Mefurish over there in the Sugya in Bava Basra, Elazar HaKohen, that's the Kohen Gadol now after Aaron's having passed away. Then Elazar, he's now the Kohen Gadol. Hoye Melubish Bu'urim Ve'Tumim. He had on himself the I don't know if he had to have a special lavush. According to Rashi, they were inside the Choshen Mishpat. So it means that he was lavush, but Urim V'Tumim means he had on himself the Choshen Mishpat, and inside the Choshen Mishpat were put in, or were laying in there, the special ksav of the Shem's name, which was called the Urim V'Tumim. V'yimeh Beruach HaKodesh. And Allah said, Baruch HaKodesh, Im Shevet Ploini Oila, if a certain Shevet is going to come up out of the goyro, Tia Ploini, Oila Tchum Ploini, Oila Imoy. Then a certain area in Earth is going to come up together with him. So what does it mean that he had, what it implies then is like as if he had two sets. He had first of all the names of the Shvatim, and he had the names of the various areas that had been decided on. It could be, we'll soon see how they decided which area is which. And he threw all those into what they call a kalfi, how do you call it, a lot box. But he had two sets. He had first of all the names, and then he had the different areas. So first of all, he pulled up a name. And then when he looked at the name, he said, oh, this name has come up. And he said, what is going to now come up in my next pull is going to be the area for that particular name. So what he did was then he pulled out another petik from another box which had all the tchumim written in it, and according to divine providence, it came out exactly the tchum that was fitting for let's say it was Shimon or whoever came out, and exactly that tchum was the one that came out, and that was according to what we said, that if Shimon or let's say Yehuda had a bigger area, a bigger number of populace, he would have to get a bigger area, and so that's exactly what happened. That he would say Yehuda, he'd pull out the Yehuda, and then he would say, yeah, this and this is going to come up, and he would lift up, and that would be exactly what came out. Exactly that was fitted for Yehuda, well, that's what came out. So we see that anyway, what made sense according to Seichel, that Yehuda had to get this area because it was the biggest area, or the middle area, whatever was his size in the populace, it anyway happened exactly that the girl made it, that's exactly what came out anyway. And so therefore he says How did it work? Ashvatim hayu ksuvim b'yud beis pesokim. They were written on 12 pieces of paper, b'yud beis gvulim, yud beis pesokim. And all the areas were also written on another 12 pieces of paper. Uboralam b'kalfi, he put them inside a box, mixed them together inside the box. V'anosi maknish yodei l'teicha v'noitel shnei pesokim. And the Nasi of each tribe, he was the one who actually drew out Papoyo Mamish, his petek, V'noitel shnei pesokim. Eila biyod pesach shel shem shiftoi. First of all, it came out the piece of paper was anyway the name of his shevet. Pesach shel gvul amafrishloi. And also came out the piece of paper which was meant anyway exactly for him. In other words, all the girl did was just sign, as you might say, on the dotted line what anyway should have happened according to what they decided, that since Shevet Yehuda had so many people, then he would get this in this area, because that was fitted according to size to the number of populace that he had. So, what did they need the whole girdle for? Belavochi, they were doing it all according to Seichel. And what the Kohen Gadol did was he just stood there and he said to the Nasi, you are now Ploini, put your hand in and draw out your thing. And he told him what's going to come up, and that's what came up, and that's what anyway they would have decided anyway to. That's what they would have decided anyway to give him, because he said that it was anyway shel shivtei but pesach shel gvul hamafurish lay. It's already been anyway decided, and the girl just decided or stated it all over again. So now, as he said, that's not the finish of the story. The girl itself shouted. In other words, when the Kohen Gadol told the Nasi, this, your name, you take your petik, and he did, and he said, your gvul is going to be kach, and he did, and that's what came out. So then the girl itself, the two psokim, the two pieces of paper, they shouted, or as he brought it up, the box shouted, somebody shouted, something shouted and said, the goylo used to shout and call out, Ani ha-goylo, I am the lot itself, Ani alishi l'gvul ploini l'shevet ploini. I came up for this area in Eretz Yisrael, for this particular tribe. Shenema al pi ha-goylo. That the goylo shouted out anyway and said what was the result. Now Rashi adds another point. It was done by monetary judgment. Shuma means monetary judgment. Beis kura keneged beis so toy. Hakol lefi hadomi. So Rashi says that, wait a minute now, that if we divided Eretz Yisrael into the Geirol, certified this division that we made into 12 sections. So Rashi said, how could you possibly decide that all according to Seichel if you just give everybody, according to your Seichel, a bigger area for somebody who's got and smaller for somebody, then there's different parts of Eretz Yisrael are more praiseworthy than others from all the different things that are there. So it could place that maybe some Shvatim got a much monetarily less, even though they may have got the area for it, but it comes out they wouldn't be able to use that well because they didn't have in it some of the better things that other parts had. So therefore Rashi said it was all done, the interdivision of the areas was also done in a very interesting way, that it was according to the monetary value. It was called Lefi Adomim. Pirush, that like he said, that a base kur in one, now base kur is a big area. That's a big area, and a base saw is a much smaller area. So he said, if somebody had a base kur in their area, but it was not a good one, it was a base kur ra, then the next person got maybe a smaller area, because he had a smaller tribe, but he might have got a smaller area which would anyway equal what that base core. In his base saw would anyway be the worth of what the other guy had in his base core. So what it comes to is that Ein Hanami, it did not necessarily all the Chalochim were Shovim in area. They weren't Chalochim Shovim in area, but they were Shovim. They were Shovim in money. That monetarily speaking, each area was worth the same as the other one. And the seichel part of it was that the people who had a bigger populace, they got a bigger area to fit in their populace. But they didn't get monetarily any more value in their whole area than what the guy who had a smaller Indian got. Which means that mitzad echad, all the areas were yeshove. They were all equal. Even though in actual area of size, they weren't equal. Let's say that, like we said before, Yehuda was bigger, so Yehuda, he got the area which was bigger in size because he got more populace, but some of the things in his land wouldn't be as precious as what maybe Osher got in another part of the country, because written that he got a very big area of shemen. Osher got all these tremendous olive trees and other things. They produce huge amounts of shemen, for example. So he got a very good base core, even though he had a smaller area, but he got a very good base saw, connected what was a base core in Yehuda, for example. It comes to Eslafisa that really the Chalokim were Shovim. So with that we could say that Rashi is Miyashiv that BMS, the Chalokim were Shovim. Therefore it follows a girl does make sense, even though Begolia didn't seem to make sense if they weren't Shovim. So Rashi said they were Shovim, but they were Shovim in Kesef, not in area. And what was Al Piseichel was that each person, each tribe that had a bigger one got a bigger area, but it all balanced out financially according to the different interrelations of the Inyanim, one to the other, and that was Al Piseichel. The Goyrel, as it were, fixed that anyway. The Goyrel fixed anyway what the Seichel would have decided, and in the middle there's a thing called Ruach HaKodesh. The Loz HaKohen had the Uri B'tumim, and he stated by divine inspiration which one was anyway to come out to the particular name of the particular tribe. But Ad Kan is better Divrei Rashi. So as we said, it's based on a very long and complicated sugi in the Gemara Baba Basra, so we're not going to go into that right now. As a matter of fact, just in the Chabad yeshivas, I think upstairs, maybe in some of the other Chabad yeshivas, they're learning some of those sugyas in the Perek Yesh Neichlin in Baba Basra, right around about this time. But we're not going into the details of the Gemara. Suffice it to say that Rashi takes out that maskona, and there are people who deal with Rashi. And they say, because Rashi learns that really, basically, everything was decided according to Seichel. But the Goyrel, had it called, was Mi'asher the Seichel. It sort of gave a tremendous Lamaila Mitam Vadas agreement to everything that really anyway made sense Al Pi Seichel. And in that Gufa there was Goyrel and there was Ruach HaKodesh. Plus the Indian that made sense Al Pi Seichel. However, it comes along the Ramban and others, and they want to say that the whole Chalukah, that the interdivision of the tribes, well, that was Al Pi Goyrel. It was only not so much the number of people that would go into those things was what decided the interdivision of the tribes, but that was decided according to the domim. We made 12 areas where all the money was does, and then the girl, Eino Hanami, the girl backed that up. But what does it mean that we gave the majority, or a larger portion to a larger or to a smaller? He wants to say, and a lot of the other great Rishonim agree with him, he wants to say that once we already had the area, then we got mishpachas, and we have people that have got families. So the person who had more people in his family, he got a bigger area in what you might call the smaller individual interdivision that each tribe did when it got its general area. Because Rashi doesn't go into that. Rashi's talking about the general area. Once each tribe got its whole story, so then they have to divide it up amongst the families, and so the bigger families, they got a bigger lot, and the smaller families got a smaller lot. That's how the Ramban learns it. In other words, he learns that the division according to people did decide the size. The size was anyway decided according only to the domim, and people got whichever area they got that al pi hagoiro. Once they already got, so then they divided it up according to the majority or the lack of majority. But Rashi doesn't learn that. Rashi learns that the whole thing, right from the beginning, the etzem decision to give a shevet a certain amount, well, that was according to seichel, and that was in a general way that each shevet got it, and we arranged them that there were certain interrelations of the monetary values, but all of that came together with the goyrel and with the ruach hakodesh. In other words, Rashi learns that the three things, seichel, goyrel, and ruach hakodesh, were all three of them together in the actual chalukah, and each one was only like a certification of what the other had already anyway decided. In other words, that the seichel already decided who was going to get what, and the bigger shevet got the bigger area and so on. The seichel had already decided that they all had to divide up equally according to the money. And everything had been arranged. Then the girl came along, and the girl said, oh yeah, it's also that way. And in the middle, ruach hakodesh also said it. According to the Ramban and the others, it's not like that. They learned that the girdle was bikal in the interdivision of the areas. After that, the Indian of the dividing up, that was the Rav and the Miut. In other words, they learned the girdle went on one Indian, and the Indian of Seichel was in another Indian. But according to Rashi, all three of the Inyanim were all in one pachel, as you might. So it comes out also to Shiloh on the part of the intelligent reader, why do we have to have all this in order to split up Eretz Yisrael amongst the tribes? Well, we could have just, Yeshua ben Nun, when he got into Eretz Yisrael, he could have sat everybody down. It really didn't need to be mentioned in the Torah, the whole arichas, Ainian, as to how to do it. He could have put them all down in a nice, cool area, and everybody, all the leaders of the tribes, the Nasiim, and he could have said, okay, guys, here we go. What do you think? Let's work out what is fair and what's good. Who's going to take what, and we'll settle it all together in a peaceful way. Why is it that Malachatchila, even long before the actual division of Eretz Yisrael, already in the Torah, it's already fixed how Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided up, and it's not only fixed, but it's fixed in a way that's got three, according to Rashi, factors which all have come together in Inyan Echod Mamish. In other words, that the actual Seichel Dike Inyan and the Ruach HaKodesh was like a middle point, and the Inyan from Goyrel, all three of them, they determine the way it's going to be. And that was Al Pi Torah's Moshe Rabbeinu, Misinai, that's the way it had to be, until we say that Ach Bagoyrel Yecholeches Ha'oretz, and then he finishes by saying Al Pi HaGoyrel. So Rashi's already touched in passages Al Pi HaGoyrel, that the girl had to actually tover, had to actually shout. So we see that the girl was active, not only was a factor in the situation, but the girl actually came out and spoke and shouted at people. I mean, if we're already going as far as to go Al Pi girl, which is Lamayla Mitafadas, that's enough. What do you need to have the girl should talk? And the interesting thing is that when the Shvatim actually get into Eretz Yisrael and we divide the land up, it's mentioned the Inif and Goyrel in one place by Yeshua. It's written that he sent how to throw a Goyrel, and then at the end, Yeshua himself took a place over there, and that's now in the Shomron, in the Har Ephraim. Yeshua himself took a little piece in the whole land. And over there it's written Al Pi Hashem. It's written, it's the only time it's written. At the end of the whole thing it's written Al Pi Hashem. And earlier than that, it's written that he sent a Inyan Goyrel, but the pasuk in Yeshua doesn't make a huge Inyan out of the Goyrel. It just describes how they all got together, and Yeshua, didn't they? And Yeshua got them together, and he divided it all up in a way that looks pretty sudden and pretty ordered, and each tribe was happy with the part that it got. We don't find all this tremendous description of Poyal Mamish of all these inyonim, and yet nonetheless we have to say that Behelam or Begoli, they were there. So as a salt the Shaila, what is it? And as we said, the Rashi makes it tremendously intensified in one place. All three factors enter and play a part. Be'ilu, according to the Rabban and others, not necessarily did they play a part altogether, but one was for one thing and the second was for another part of it, as we already explained about. Comes along the Rabbeinu B'chaye, and the truth is that it's mashma even in the Gemara over there, but not maybe openly stated. It's a very complex sugya, so you have to swim through a lot of inyonim to get to some of the points. But the Rabbeinu B'chaye sums it up, and he said, why did there have to be a goyel? What was the reason and the time that the Eibishter said there has to be this throwing of a lot? And that even the throwing of the lot had to be active, it had to talk and say, listen you guys, you see, I'm the girl, I've done kafir. The Teva B'nai Adam, says the Rabbeinu B'chaye, is that even if you've decided on something fairly, and you got everybody together like we suggested, and everything was agreed on, and everybody said, yeah, okay, this makes sense, and this seems to be fair, and this seems to be here, and this seems to be there, you'll take this, and you'll take this. The terror of people is that later on they say, oh, wait a minute, why did I let him have that? Why didn't I take a stand? Or later on somebody will say, why did you get that? You know, the experience shows that I really need that more than what you do. This is the terror. And mention Aliyachi, what a halukah has been made, yeah, they tend later to see that maybe we could have voted better, you know, we could have pushed more, we could have been a bit more persuasive, or maybe we didn't state our case properly, maybe he was a bit too talkative. And the fact says it's mashma in the Lashon of the Gemara, but the Rabbeinu B'chaye describes it very intensely, that we had to have a goyrul, the people should know that Al-Pi HaGoyrul, Al-Pi Lagamri L'mayla Matam V'das, this is the way it is. And then there's another pasuk in Mishlei, which says that HaGoyrul Mashpis Midayonim, that the goyrul puts quiet squabblers. In other words, people who are squabbling together. If it was done b'goyrul, then you can always go back and say, well, look, we threw a lot, what are you guys complaining about? There's nothing to be done, you can't complain against the lot. And if this is the Rabbeinu B'chaye, that's why we have to make it with a lot. What you need to have, Loza HaKoyen, all dressed up in the Urim V'Tumim, and a whole announcement, together with the goyrul. So, the Rabbeinu B'chaye says back the other way, sometimes if you make only according to the goyrul, then later people say, wait a minute, this is all sort of pocus, you know, it all just sort of happened, you know, we threw a girl, but maybe if we'd have really decided that we want to do this only according to Seichel, we would have done better. In other words, that there's even a chance that maybe people think back the other way, pick for cat, and say that maybe it would have been better if we'd done it a piece out. This girl business seems to be, you know, very arbitrary, you know, I'm stuck with this now, and people tell me it's Al-Pi goyrul. You know, if a goyrul you can't do anything. So there might be a certain, what you might call, lack of balance inside the Mekablim. Why did I accept only the goyrul? Therefore, there had to be also Ruach HaKodesh. What Ruach HaKodesh is, that it was already a thing slightly lower, more Al-Pi Seichel, and we can say, oh, but this was, after all, Loza HaKodesh had the Urim V'Tumim, and everybody knew that the Urim V'Tumim used to talk to the Indian, like Rashi brings over there, Pasha Tetabe, as a Urim V'Tumim, Me'irim es Divreihem, or Mitamamim es Divreihem, they make their Dvarim Tmimim, perfect and simple. So when people hear the Urim V'Tumim, they're convinced. So there would have to also be the Inif Ruach HaKodesh. So according to Rabbeinu B'chaye, the whole Indian was to sum up and to make as little as possible any later quarrels or any later what you might call a change of mind on the part of all the Makablim that they got their different halakim, and now it says, well, they should all be pleased and they should all go ahead, particularly, and therefore it had to be al kol gimel hamadregah. First of all, it had to be al piseichel. So I don't like it say, well, look, we got everything al piseichel, and we got the biggest piece, and even though we don't have a very nice, beautiful base saw, but we got a big base core, which ultimately is worth the same amount of money as what Pliny got with a small thing. One thing is al piseichel. Then there had to be in the middle a madregah from Ruach HaKodesh, and then the inya from Goyim. So as a sort of shaila on the part of the intelligent reader, what has that got to do with it? What does that come to teach us? Particularly we're coming also Hemshech from New Tamuz. What does that have to teach me? That's well known, the Parsha Pinchas, as we mentioned the other night, and if I bring it occurs in most years in and around Yud Beis Tamuz, and the first Yud Beis Tamuz when the Rebbe was born with Parsha Pinchas, and this year is the same. It's the same kriyas as when the Rebbe was released. It was Yom Gimel, Yom Beis and Yom Gimel, Yom Revi'ah b'Shavua, Tuesday and Wednesday of the week of Parsha Pinchas. So we see that the inyan from Pinchas, as we also mentioned the other night in the Farbrengen, that Pinchas went with Mesiras Nefesh that didn't have any hagbolas in it, klal u'klal. In other words, it's not that Pinchas sat down and he looked up in Shulchan Aruch and he said, oh, yes, according to the laws of Mesiras Nefesh, we have to have a bit of Mesiras Nefesh here. And so therefore he decided he's going to go, al pidin, he's going to go on Mesiras Nefesh. No, he came to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, look, man, I can't myself really figure out what we should do. I say, state it. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Nisal mimena halacha b'Yisrael. Rashi brings it at the end of Parsha Bola. So came along Pinchas, and he said, no, Shamanu mimecha Rabbeinu, we heard from you that you said kanoim poigim boy. That somebody who's a real zealot, he has the right to go and be pogei in the sinner. So the fascinating thing is, he has the right to go and be pogei in the sinner. You could say, well, it means that he won't get misa if he did that. If he kills the guy, he's not going to be held up for a chiyuv misa. Brings the Rebbe in a famous sikha where the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach says that according to the Yerushalmi, that people don't like that. The Chachomim, in any time where it comes along a zealot of that nature, they would prefer somehow or another to, So you're going to have the privilege of walking past and everybody's going to Ms. Boina. Ishamela, the Chachomim are not really pleased about such a thing. And therefore it's written that a emes zealot like Pinchas is a Chachomim ein chafetzim boy. That they're not happy about it. Ein ze berotzen Chachomim, to use the expression of the Yerushalmi. And therefore it's only a reshus piyodeh. It's not a mitzvah. He's not mechuyev to do it. He's not even obliged to do it according to a less heavy obligation. He's beklal not obliged, but he can do it if he wishes. In other words, that he has the right, according to Torah, to do it if he wishes. That's what we brought down. That's one of the inyanim of the Mesiras Nefesh, Yud Beis Tamuz, that the Frierdiker Rebbe, many people said at that time, what is the whole thing? Just, get out of Russia, try and smuggle as many people out of Russia, as many as you Hasidim, try and find some way of coming to peace with the situation. Who says you have to go ad kadikar? Because it wasn't only the Rebbe, it was tens of great Hasidim and other people that they went to Rachmanin and Tzlan, to loss and to death and to who knows what, at the hands of those Rishonim. And it was nationwide, and thousands and thousands of lives, and tens of thousands of lives of people. And yet nonetheless the Frierdiker Rebbe went Ba'ifin Kozer, with that Mesiras Nefesh, which was Loi Alpi Tambo Das, I feel in the laws of Mesiras Nefesh Alpi Torah. It wasn't an Inyam Alpi Tambo Das. So Yesh Loima, that's the Inyam from Goyrol. The Inyam from Goyrol is a thing which, like we said, it's thrown and cast when people don't know the heck what, how to decide, and they give themselves away lagamre to the Ashkocha. And therefore Rashi says in Mishlei, where he says that Me'esh Hashem Kol Mishpotei, that the girl, Rashi said even before you actually see what's the result of the girl, the Abish is already paskin. In other words, just the fact that you decide to go al piguero, that calls out the rotten and the decision of the Abish how it's going to be. Which means that all you need to do is give yourself away to the concept of Goyro, and then automatically the Abish has already fixed what it's going to be, meaning he himself, Atzmus Ein Sof, the Abish, how he is, Mamish Be'atzmus, he has fixed it, he's decided how it's going to fall. Wie das wird, hier. There's a famous mimer from the Rebbe Rashab, where he said that Goyro is not only Lamaila Me'aseicho, but Goyro is a inim which is neged aseicho. It's something which is mamish against the function of Seicho. And therefore we said that what the Frierdiker Rebbe did and the type of stance that he took against the Soviet regime was not a inim which was just a little bit Lamaila Miseicho, or even quite a bit Lamaila Miseicho. It was completely neged Inyan Aseicho Oriyah. Completely Loi Al Pi Seicho. And the Rebbe Rashab compares it over there to the famous Maaseh, what everybody knows and everybody's familiar, and everybody quotes it, that happened with the altar. What happened with the altar, Rebbe?
What's that?
Thank you for me showing the interest to ask, what am I referring to? And that's a famous story, what the Rebbe, that some Tzaddik brings it down at the end of Shorish Mitzvah Tefillah in Derek Mitzvah Tzachar. And he quotes it one way over there, but in this Maimon, the Rebbe Rashab quotes it a slightly different way, even makes it even more. If we want to raise a few sleeping eyebrows, and we could even maybe mention how it actually happened. So I was in the army, one of the officers said to me, if you want to get people in, so tell them an unusual story. Then all your eyes will turn in your direction. That's what So, the Rebbe Rashab brings down over there, and the Maimon, he brings down that once the Alter Rebbe was rolling around on the floor. That's what he writes there. And it's well known that there were times when the Alter Rebbe followed that shitta of mamish, tremendous outflash of his pilots telekut. And therefore you know that they had to have pillars around the area where the Alter Rebbe davened. You know that? Because he used to bang his head against the wall. And once the Alter Rebbe banged his head so hard that he made a whole split in his forehead. And therefore they didn't want that happening anymore, because they saw it was already begetter. Maybe even a chashash sakonis nafu. Therefore they put pillars all around the area where he used to daven. That's what they did. So on this particular case, the Alter Rebbe was rolling on the floor. He said, nonetheless, at the Rebbe Rashab, he said, we heard from him that the Alter Rebbe said that I don't want, the famous, ich will nicht dein Gan Eden, ich will nicht afille dein Elam aber ich will mir nicht as dicha lein, I only want you yourself. I don't want you Gan Eden, I don't really want you Elam aber it'll be after the whole Eden von Moshiach, with the ganze Gan Eden. He said, I only want you yourself, the Eden von Atzmus Ein Sof man. And the Rebbe brings that down in many of the Mamarim, we say, Lahari Bezeh. What on earth does that mean? It means that there's a certain Inya where you don't reckon with anything, there's only you and the Eivishter. If it means that you have a beautiful big, nice garment in Olam Haba, let's forget about Gan Eden. I mean, Gan Eden, I feel in Olam Haba. And you'll sit with your beautiful shining garment, and the Shekhinah will be shining at you, and you'll be Nana Miziv HaShekhinah, and you'll be having these unbelievable hasogas 1 minute after the 1 minute after the Adeh. So the Alter Rebbe said, that's not. He said, higher than that is that he would like just him and the Eivish together. That's it. So everyone, the Chassidim came to the Alter Rebbe, another man. But they came to the Alter Rebbe and said, what are we going to do? You've taken away the Gan Eden, you've taken away the Elam Habor. What's going to be? So the Alter Rebbe said, we have to build a new Gan Eden, to make a new Elam Habor for the Chassidim. To make a new Elam Habor for the Chassidim. And in Toshin Lamed, the Rebbe said, the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, he said that the Chassidim are going to go out to Melech HaMashiach, and they're going to meet him, and they're going to say, Shalom Aleichem Melech HaMashiach, this is going to be a wonderful world that you're bringing, but we as Chassidim, what are we going to do there? What are we going to do in your world? This Elam Habor, we're not going to be able to just sit and the whole time and just be Mikabel the Ziva Shekhinah. What's going to be with Tzomah L'chor Nafshi? Because if it's all laid on and we're all just being there the whole time from the rays of the Shekhinah, where's the Tzomah L'chor? I was there when the Rebbe said it. I was there, it was Rosh Hashanah Toshin Lamed. And certain people almost, in the tremendous crowd and the crash, they almost crushed all bodies and souls and goofs and bones and everything that was going on. There was tremendous crash that was going on. Certain people almost fell and fainted when they heard that from the Rebbe. And that was so the Rebbe said that the Eibishter will promise a Hasidim, if they only ask that even after there will be Nana Miziv HaShekhinah Ad LaNetzach, that the Hasidim will still have Tzomah L'chor Nafshi. In other words, that even then you'll have a few Chabadniks that will drive around with tanks, and they will say, no, you guys don't just be satisfied with the rays of the Shekhinah. But you have to say, we want Atzmus now. We want more Atzmus. In other words, that they will stop saying we want Mashiach because they already got it. And they already got Elam Habor. I said, what do you want now? I said, what do we want now? Atzmus. So that's what we want now. There's a lot of guys that they'll be happy with the rays, the Shekhinah. And these guys say, oh, no. And that's the Alter Rebbe. But the Alter Rebbe was rolling on the floor. In other words, Bittel Kol HaMatzias, Bittel Kol HaElam Legamre. And he said, Ich will mehr nicht als Dira. Dira allein. I only want you, yourself. According to that judgment, then there's no Hagbolas. Ein Hagbolas. If there's a thing I'll be Torah, and if there's a inim with that's Torah, and that's Kedusha, then that has to go. That's got to be, and that's got to be the deciding factor. All other factors have got to fall. That could be even negative for that. Oh, that's what's got to be. And that's a Pshat Goyrol. That's the Taich Goyrol. That's what it comes out of that Maimonides from the altar. Even if it's negative seichel, on the contrary, even what more negative seichel, more it's even for good. It's only that a mensch, you can't have him living 24 hours a day, 30 days a month, the whole time in his amatzah from girl. Time for das, we should negative time for that. And therefore it has to come down to other madrigas also. There's got to be other inyanim in the way to Hashem as well. And that's in Ruach HaKodesh. In other words, that certain things are also l'mayla mi medida of Agbola, because Ruach HaKodesh is also something that's not ordinary by any means. For Horaya, that not everybody's got Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is always for very chosen individuals. But also upon him, Ruach HaKodesh is already a certain, you read into a level but there's a difference of opinion in the great Sfarim, even brought in Chassidus, what level is Ruach HaKodesh. The first brought in one Maimon of Chassidus of Ba'id Kama, that Ruach HaKodesh is connected with Malchus, with Sfiras HaMalchus. In other words, the Pnimius of Sfiras HaMalchus, those who are Oiler, those who have that Kesher, and they have Ruach. In other words, the people who beiked a simple Kabbalah Soil, like I mentioned, and they go with a Teiche for Kabbalah Soil, Malchus, and they bring the infant Avodim and Avdus into the world, but even Kozeh, then they have a much higher appreciation of what should really be. What should really be. And they have a look, and they have a feeling and a sensitivity to Inyanim how they are BMS and Lamailame Medida Vahag. And that's called Ruach HaKodesh. And the far it's brought down in a Medrash that it's written that David HaMelech, he was the Rav. He was Rabom, Shokol Bali Ruach HaKodesh, and David HaMelech, he was eating from Malchus. He was the immediate eating from Sfiras HaMalchus. So what do we see with David HaMelech? That he was a he was a warrior. David HaMelech. He was to use the expression, he was a fighter. Very much so. But nonetheless, he was a fighter, Alpi, Beetle Gomer, until he says, Im loy doimamti, Im loy shivisi v'doimamti. There's just like a doimam, the uniform Beetle of Kabbalah Soil altogether. And that was David HaMelech. However, the Rebbe Rasha brings in a Maimah in Tovrei Samach Tes, the Rebbe Rasha brings a Maimah Gevaldik Zach, but he says that we find that the Gemara says in Sukkah, and Taisus brings it down, that Yoina, I know you guys know the story with Yoina, huh? I know. And you know that on Yom Kippur we read a thing called Maftir Yoina. Have you ever heard of it, Maftir Yoina? And all the people who've got bulging pockets, they give out big sums in order to be able to get Maftir. And it's well known that our Rebbeim, they used to get Maftiyain, and it's well known that the Rebbe, Melech Moshe, even before he became Rebbe, when it's in 770, before the actual Messiahs, there used to be a special minyan made on the side for him, because the Friedrich Rebbe used to get Maftiyain, but they used to make a special minyan for him also to have Maftiyain, that anyone connected with the Nasiim, that they have to get, okay, so we already had the joke. This, they have to make sure that they read this Inyan, the story of Yoina on the afternoon of Yom Kippur. Now, what is Yom Kippur connected with? Yom Kippur is connected with Goyrol. And therefore we see that the whole central Avodah of Yom Kippur was the deciding which of the two Purim, which of them, either one of them is L'chatos and one of them is it's not the Purim, the Seirim, the two goats. One was the Soil Azazel, and one became the Chatas Pnimi, which is taken Mamish Bifnim. Mamish B'teich Kodesh HaKadosh, the blood of it out the Purim. So that was decided by a girl. And it's one of the Purim is the same thing. Purim, the whole thing with Haman was that he threw Goyrolas, he threw, and they were called Purim. Okay, so we said that the joke has already been a joke. At the Ina, it's already old news. At the Ina for Goyro, was the Ina from Purim, well, that was exactly the same Nakuda that didn't went completely Lamailami, Ta'am Vadas, Legamri, Lamailami, Ko, Medida, Vagbola altogether. At the far, it's brought in the Tikkun Isaiah, the why we call it Yom Kippurim. Because it's like a kof demon. The kof is like a comparing kof. Yom Kippurim. And in Torah, the Alter Rebbe's got a whole mimer based on that statement of the Tikkun Isaiah, that the Purim is only like Yom Kippur is only a comparison to Purim. In other words, the emes of Goyrol was on Purim. Allah upon him, we see that the Inyan of the Inyan for Yom Kippur and the whole decision, which is going to be the Soil, which is going to be the Soya. Which is going Mamish B'tei Kodesh HaKadoshim, and that was Al Pi Goyrol. It was Dafki Ayin, and it was decided with the Ayin Shel Goyrol. On that day, we read about Yoina. And what happened with Yonah? Do you guys know what happened with him? He tried to flee because he was given a nevuah that he was scared to give over. He didn't want to give over the nevuah. He was told by the Abish to give a prophecy, and he tried to flee, tried to get away. What happened to him? Do you know what happened to him? Yeah, he fell asleep on the ship. And how did they decide what to do with him? They threw a girl. They threw a girl, and they decided what to do with him. I'll pee a girl. But that's one of the connections. The Inif and Yonah with Yom, why it's read after Yom Kippurim, because it was also Al Pi in a girl. However, Tosfos brings over there that Yonah became a Novi. He got his Nevuah through Simchas Beis HaShoeva. That through being involved in the Inif and Simchas Beis HaShoeva, that's how he became a Novi. And why is that? Because it's written that the Yerushalmi says that all those who drew water for the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, Shoeva means to draw, She'iva, U'sha'avtem mayim b'sasin, that's referring to the Simchas Beis HaShoeva. Whoever drew that water drew Ruach HaKodesh together with him. And so it's written that Yonah was zeicher to Ruach HaKodesh from Simchas Beis HaShoeva. So the Rebbe says over there, what's Ruach HaKodesh? He said that's Inif for Chochmah. It's much different than most places where it's written that Ruach HaKodesh is Malchus. But it's Dafke the Inif for Chochmah. And so the Rebbe Rashab said over there, Favuas, he said because Chochmah is the other end, just like Malchus is the last. So therefore when you reach the end, no, it's Dafke the Inif and Besefer, no, it's Kilotzon. In the same way, back the other way, the beginning, before everything eventually reaches Malchus, the same meaning is there in Chochmah. In other words, Chochmah is Koyach Ma Bittul, and he writes over there that somebody who has Ruach HaKodesh is so bottled to the Eibishter that he just senses that things are going to happen. Even if you ask him, how do you know? He says he doesn't know. He just knows, and therefore the famous story that happened with the Rebbe Rashab, you guys know about it. You know the famous story of what happened with the Titanic. You ever heard of the Titanic? You know what the Titanic is? It was a huge ship with the British built it. It was supposed to be the biggest, poshest ship in the world. And people tried to get, passengers on the first voyage with the whole miles and they're going to do it. And it went through the Black Sea or somewhere around about Russia. It was supposed to pass through that area of the world. And that's where it went down. Rahman went down in the icy seas of the north and went up on an iceberg. And so there was quite a well-known chassid that at that time, he got an opportunity to go and start a business in America. And he decided, and it was even mashma from the Rebbe, that it was a good idea that he should start a business, dafke b'chutz Russia. It's taught in America, and so he heard of this Titanic. So he said, what could be better? To travel in such a beautiful ship. This is the best way. So he wrote into the Rebbe Rashab and he asked for a bracha that he should go on the Titanic to America. So the Rebbe Rashab, they brought it into the Gabbai brought in the Pedig, and he showed it to the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab over and he just went like they made with his shoulders like that, and he sort of threw the Pedig on the table. And that was it. He never said a word. So the Gabbai didn't sort of know what to make of it. He hadn't said anything, but it didn't look particularly favourable. So he just went out and he told the guy that he can't really say, but the Rebbe just shrugged his shoulder and never said anything. So the chassid was a little bit not pleased, he didn't know quite what to do, but he'd already booked the place and he thought he would get an immediate okay. So he waited a while and then he said to the Gabbai, take it in again. This shows a human weakness in the sense, human failure. He said, take in the Pedig again. Maybe the Rebbe didn't. Maybe didn't look closely the first time. So Cain Hoyer, the Gabbai, took it in. He gave it it was a slightly shaky hand, and he gave it to the Rebbe Rashab. So the Rebbe Rashab took a look at it, and the Rebbe said, he said in Yiddish, I don't know what they want of me. I already said mine. I already said my piece. Ich weiß nicht, was mir will von mir. Ich hab mein schön gesagt. I've already said what I said. What do they want of me? So the guy didn't have the chutzpah So he didn't say anything, Rebbe. What he meant to say, I already said mine. I just showed that it wasn't, it's not on, So he went to this class and he said, listen, man, if I were you, I would just keep away from, a 40-foot pole. I wouldn't have anything to do with it. Just leave it. There's something not right here. So Cain Hoyer, he didn't go. And then see what happened. This unbelievable tragedy, unbelievable assault, happened at sea. So later on, this chassid, he got a chance to get a yechidus with the Rebbe Rashab, because he had a simcha or something. He had the right then to get a yechidus. So he went in. He went into the Rebbe Rashab, and he said that he asked for forgiveness, that he nurtured, he didn't intend this and this. And then he said, but, Rebbe, he said, Rebbe could have just told me, he could have just said to me, Rebbe, that, I shouldn't go. So the Rebbe looked at him and the Rebbe said, Gloib mir, ich hab nicht gewusst, wo sie verteilen mit dem Titanic. He said, ich hab nur gewusst, dass du darfst nicht fahren. Und ich weiß noch eine Sache, that uns sagen mir, es darf man folgen. In other words, he said, I didn't know, and I didn't even know it was going to occur, a tragedy. All I know is that if we say something, you have to obey. That was the man. Kach Hoyer. So I brought down, after I heard that ma'aseh, I saw the brought down that the Alter Rebbe writes in a mimer that the emissary in from Ruach HaKodesh is, even though you say, and you say clearly, and you're right, but you do it in a way that it's not mamish like Begoli, that it's all clear, and you can describe exactly what's going to happen. This is going to this, and this is going to that, and this is going to something else, and it's going to look like this, and it's going to look like that. It's just clear in the mind of the person who has Ruach HaKodesh that he knows that there's something, some Indian, whatever is nogea to whoever's asking the question. And that's called Ruach HaKodesh. Remember, we see that that's not mamish completely and utterly l'mayla mitava. Das, it has a certain hamshocha v'gilui in inyonim which are called chachma. And ever the Rebbe Rashab said that that's the inyan for shatem mayim, but also mayim and inyan for chachma. It ever has a certain shaykhs to the inyan for inyan of chachma. Ve'ila, the inyan for seichel, that's mamish the inyan for koychasa agiluim, from bina down. So Nimtzul Afisa, there we got three inyanim. We have an inyan for goyro, which is also shot to Yom Kippurim. Well, that's completely and utterly neged that cycle. Lafi what the Alter Rebbe said, only the inyan for atzmas bilvad. Then there's an inyan for Ruach HaKodesh, which also upon him it enters the realm of some sort of reasoning, some sort of ability to say why or how or what. It's a higher sensitivity. But it's called Ruach HaKodesh. And then there's an inyan from Seichel Mamish Inyonim, would they make sense? And they're mishkabel in the Seichel of the Adam. So on that basis, we should suggest that what Rashi is hinting here in the Parsha, the Benegeh to Chalukas Eretz Yisrael, then we have to have all these things together. Not like the Ramban that he said one of them, yeah, one of them maybe in another place, but all three of them come together, mamish be'inyan echad, be'inyan etzem achaluka of Eretz Yisrael atzmei. It's like we pointed out in the previous class, I think, what is the inyan from Eretz Yisrael? The Eretz is like the Medrash says at the beginning of Bereshit. The Medrash says that Lama Nikra Shmo Oretz Mipnei Sherotzto La'asei Sotzein Koino, that's the inyan from Rotzen, or the inyan of running. But why do you run? Because you want something. In other words, the pneumius of running is Rotzen. Why do you hurry? Why are you in a state of rapid movement? Because you have a rotzen. The inyan from Eretz indicates the koyach of rotzen by a mensch. Eretz Yisrael is where your rotzen is only in inyanim which are the tachlis hakavona. Yisrael is even higher than Yankiv. Yisrael is the highest madrege of Gilei Elikus. If I know your rotzen is for Gilei Elikus, because you want that there should be inyanim of Elokus in your life and in the world, and you want everything should be according to the emes kavana of the Eivishter. Don't you? How do you get into Eretz Yisrael? Rather, how do you divide up Eretz Yisrael amongst the different people that they want a part in, and they want to have a shaykhus to Eretz Yisrael? That's the union also, Bepashtas, of going into Eretz Yisrael, Bepashtas, the Yidden, like the how do you call them, the Meraglim, and even Koira. And they said, listen, we got a good deal, that we got the Torah, we got taken out of Mitzrayim, and we got big ruchnias to life. We'll just wander around and we'll be, how do you call it, ivory towers, what mentioned. And in the end, we'll let the world run after us. What do we have to run after the world for? Not for us. We've got all this unbelievable knowledge and all these inyanim. And anybody who uses, he's saying, and even Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said that if you go down into the world, you're going to lose l'chora. You won't have so much time to learn Torah. And even if you do learn Torah, it's going to be after you've already done what you're doing with the inyan Elam Hatzeh. And how are you going to be able to learn Torah b'shleima? And that's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's what he complained, that's what he timed him. And therefore the Gemara says that a lot of people tried to do it Rashbi's way. Could make sense. But they also Yodam, they didn't succeed. Because Sof you can't really, except for very rare neshamas, you have to follow Moshe Rabbeinu and you have to go over the Eretz Yisrael. Well, even though Moshe Rabbeinu Atzmi didn't actually enter Eretz Yisrael, Mitamim Aki Muzorim. Moshe Rabbeinu Atzmi didn't actually go into Eretz Yisrael. But the entry into Eretz Yisrael is once again neged haseichel. It's not up at the Meraglim and Koirach at a point. They weren't just goylems. They had an emes point. And to go into Eretz Yisrael with a thing like the Torah is a dover kosher me'id. It's a inu. It doesn't make any sense. And once you've got the Torah. Mainly if you didn't have the Torah, or you didn't have the Torah the way it was given. But Sinai, then try yourself out in a country and grow it up and develop it and be a mentioned in the world. And that's what Rashi stresses, and that's what we see, that the entry and the division of Eretz Yisrael, what portion are you going to have, begins and beikir, this is Alpi Goyro, this is Alpi and that's what the Rebbe, the Tamuz Tzedek, says in a place brought down in the works of the Rebbe Melech HaMoshiach, that he says that in Goyer itself there are like two madregas, like we just saw. There's a Muna Pshuta, and then there's Inyanim which is completely beyond time with us altogether. Because a Muna Pshuta can be like in the situation, you believe as it's a good, or you believe that you got to do certain things. But there's a certain connection with the way you are in the world, and the way it makes sense according to your situation at least. And in that you have Emunah. The Frierdiker Rebbe he didn't reckon with any situation. He didn't hold that he even had to keep the situation he was in. He went like in and even for Neg and say hello together. Like we see that even to the point that he endangered everything that he'd already established. That something should have happened. And nonetheless, the Friedrich for the second inyan of Gero, which is completely an utterly like the Alter Rebbe said, he will manage the dicha. It doesn't just mean any other inyan, only you and whatever you say. No, that's an unbelievable koyach, but that's what's demanded if everybody goes into Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, there has to be the inyan from Gero. No, there has to be also inyan from Ruach HaKodesh, that you got to be able to bring down the inyan from the Gero, and you got to have certain inyanim, but they also got to shaykhus to them tiyas. In other words, you got to bring that teika for the Gero also into certain inyanim, but they make a certain shaykhus with the inyan from a tiyah. And then, under certain circumstances, you also have to go al pi seichel. For certain inyanim, where there's a seichel of kedusha, there's a seichel al pi Torah, there's a seichel al pi tam v'das the kedusha, and sometimes it's necessary and it's proper. Other men so Masada Zayin is inyanim that they should have a certain place al pi tam al pitam vadas, and therefore we see that there's certain inyonim in Torah or mitzvahs, particularly how they refer to public life, and not as inyonim that we see that we even according to the minagama. You guys will learn in Bava Basha. The first Mishnah in Bava Basha says, Hakum, Lefi Minagama, Amadina. What's the title of Lefi Minagama Dina? There are certain inyonim, al pitera, which even come down into relation with the world around you, Mamish al pitam v'dam. That's a necessity, which sometimes is, but that has to be known that that's only a certain necessity. It's only an inyan which has its agbolas, and we have to deal with it in order to make the inyan of being in the world with our order, with our shleimas. But the next step up is ruach hakodesh. The step after that is goyrol completely l'mayla mitam, l'mayla mitam v'dah. And that's the way they enter Eretz Yisrael b'pashtus. Well, that's the way they even got into Eretz Yisrael. And once they got in, that's what Yeshua did. He did, according to Rashi, all three things, but Chadamachta, in one thing. One. Not according to the Ramban and the other Mephoshim in that part. Even though they that they got a tremendous basis for in the Sugi and Bava Basha, I ain't kind of to go into the whole Arichas in reference to that. It comes to what are we doing now in the Golas? Now we're in Rahman in Islam, we're going out of Eretz Yisrael. I said, therefore the answer is that Chas v'sholem, you didn't go out of Eretz Yisrael. Well, and that's when the famous thing where the Frierdiker Rebbe went from the prison to his house for a few short hours before they took him out into Golas, and he waited at the train station for the train to take him out to the Golas. That was Gimel Tamuz. That was the day of Gimel Tamuz, and the Frierdiker Rebbe made the famous statement that it was only the Yiddish Gufim that went into Golas, but the Yiddish Neshama didn't ever go to Golas. And therefore, not only the Neshama has no right to be weakened by the Golas, nobody has the right to weaken the Jewish Neshama in the Golas. The Goyim have no right to do that, and it's not proper, and they won't be matzliach for the famous Sikha. The Rebbe, when he was standing just before getting on the train, and every word that he said to them was of tremendous danger to himself, because they just let him out. They might say, wait a minute, this guy's the same old dangerous, adequate crazy man, let's take him back. I mean, because their guys were standing there, for Shasmais. And Nafel Pikain, that's what the Rebbe said. And we see from that even in the Golas, all the inyonim from Eretz Yisrael are still there. Because as far as the Neshama is concerned, they're all there. The Yid didn't go into Golas mitzad zeh. He's in Eretz Yisrael. Oh, v'shleima. With all the inyonim, the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore in the Golas, for sure those three inyonim go on, and they're shayach, and they're noyhig in the same way that they were prior to the entry into Eretz Yisrael way back in the time of Yeshua. So now we're holding at the last moment now before we go back into Eretz Yisrael. And there's a very fascinating thing what the Gemara says over there in Masechta Bava Basha. The Gemara says that Asido, that when Moshiach will come, Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided up again. And it's going to be divided slightly different. It's not going to be divided into 12 sections, but it's going to be divided into 13. Which means that the two sons of Yosef will only take one, they will take one chelik, and all the other tribes will have their chalokim. Maybe even Shevet Levi might have a place. But there's going to be a 13th section. And that 13th section is going to be given to the Nasi, as they state in the Gemara in Bava Basha. And the Rebbe said that refers to Melech HaMashiach. In other words, Melech HaMashiach himself can have his own little portion. This is 13. Yeah. Everybody knows that 13 is Gematria Echot. Everybody knows, and it's a pillar that the Rebbe said in Toshim Memei that they must build a nachlo in for the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he said for Nasi Doireinu. So who on earth did he mean by that? He said you must build a nachlo for him here in Kvacha Ba. And he spoke, I heard the Sikha, I hope scared. So you can't kid me about that. And the Rebbe said that he wants that the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Siddur Reino should have a nachla be'eretz HaKodesh. All the Rebbeim had it. Well, I don't know about the Alter Rebbe, but the Mittler Rebbe, he bought that little place in Hebron, which is the shul, and he bought it with money, and it was his section. And then there's another shul in one of the streets over there in Hebron, but that belonged to the Rebbe Rashab. That was the Rebbe Rashab's chelik in Eretz Yisrael. All the Rebbeim made sure that they had a chelik v'nachla in Eretz Yisrael. Kipshutei. And so the 770 building is at this moment, that is the nachla, that is the binyan v'nachla be'eretz HaKodesh of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Siddur Reino, what everybody knows who that is. And the Siddur Reino is not the proper expression nowadays. The proper expression is Malkeinu Mashiach, Chenu Melech HaMashiach. He's going to have a goyrel and a nachla in Eretz HaKodesh. So it's brought down in my mind from the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, where he said that just like they had to have these three things before they went into Eretz Yisrael, at the first time, the re-entrance, Bapashtas, into Eretz Yisrael, with the Gula Shlema, going to have to be with these three in Yonim, according to Rashi, that they're all together, and they're all three different stages in one Shlemas, one Inyan as well known. That a segel is where you've got two in yon and you've got a third point in the middle, what Yidden are called the Tamuz Gula, which is Loshen Segul from the Eibishter. And therefore you have to have all those three in yonim in order to get back into Eretz HaKodesh v'shleimus. And therefore you got to be a little bit neged haseichel. You got to be even what the world says meshuggah. And so you might say, well, wait a minute, take it easy. So the Rebbe said that the Bossi Legani was the document for the whole day. What's written over there, the whole main theme of the Bossi Legani is Shtustuke, Dusha, and at the end of the first Maimon he brings down about Ehud Anovi, that Ochaz HaMelech said about him, HaMeshuga Hazebah. I stayed in the Bossi Legani, look it up, you'll see right on the last page of the first Maimon. HaMeshuga Hazebah. In other words, that it doesn't matter, and it's all a teva if the world says about you Meshuggah. So you say, well, wait a minute, you have to take it easy. Oh no, as long as the Meshuggah is in the right direction, then it's good. Not the Meshuggah of the Nefesh HaBamis, chas v'shalom, but the Meshuggah of going in a way that we say Hine Moshiach Bo, and we say Yechi HaMelech Moshiach, and we say Ad Masai with all the inyanim. That is the shtus, the kedusha, and that is the neged haseichel of the oilam goylam. Well, the oilam goylam says, oh no, what can you do? You got to do this, you got to put a bit of the money in your pocket, you got to do this and something else, and you can't complain, and you have to make the terrorists into heroes, and you got to do it, and you can't do anything about it, just can't be helped, and you do this, and yeah. You just fall tiffer and Rachmanin Itlan into the Inyan HaGol. And if comes again the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he tells the story that his father, I mentioned about if I bring the other night, that his father took him onto the Akedah, as I state, that his father put him up onto his bed, just like Avraham Avinu did with Yitzchak. And he said, and that's what happened. They took the Frierdiker and they put him up on his bed. They were about to take the knife and finish the job. And they took him out to shoot him with the firing squad, and it didn't work. It was the most unbelievable nisim. Mamish nisim, nisim, sheba nisim, that it didn't happen. And I've heard that's the Indian that the Rebbe Rashab said that this is the beginning of a new Yitzchak, a new Mesilas Nefesh, a new start. We're going to go in. And so he said, what about all the people who are going to come along? We're going to jump on them as bear and have somebody swish a gun at them or face first. And if I said, no, the Indian is Mesilas Nefesh. And what does Mesilas Nefesh mean? This way and not the other way. Azoi and nisht anders. That's what it's written there. And the Rebbe brings it at the end of the famous Maimon of Ach Bagoiro, which is based on the Pasuk we're learning now. The Rebbe in a famous Maimon that he said, in Tosh Lamed Hey, that's the Indian of Mesilas Nefesh in our generation, is to say that this is the way it has to be, not any other way. The Rebbe said thousands of times that the way it has to be is Moshiach. And that's the way it's got to be, no other way. And that's what it means, Mesilas Nefesh. Mesilas Nefesh means to go with the Pshitas and to say this is the way it has to be. It's got to be the Gila of Melech and Moshiach, not anything else, not another way. And that's Mesilas Nefesh. And that's what the Rebbe Rashab said to the Frierdiker Rebbe inside the oil of the Rebbe Marash, and the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek, of course, in the same oil of it. That's what we're going to do, guys. And that's the inyan of Ach Bagoiro Yecholek Esaoret. Because Achelik indicates something that comes down, becomes your personal inyan. And it becomes an inyan which makes sense. And that's what Rashi says, Einochanami. Everybody got that part of Eretz Yisrael which made sense. Je wilt de Zibel laten door. When wordt die komen nog terug? Aha, beseden. Okay. Ja. It makes sense. Al Pisegel, be his ordinary segel. Everybody got what was really better for them. Everybody got what was really due to them. So. Which means that you don't have to worry. The Eibush will look after you, and the Eibush will make that Al Pisegel. People say, "Oh, that was good. That was nice." Oh, what could be better? We had a Talmud he worked hard and we made him chadar. We said, "Oh, fine, wonderful." I say, we see that the Eibush health, that everybody gets what Al Pisegel, Al Ki Poshet, makes sense for him. But he's got to base it on the fact that it's got to be Ruach HaKodesh and it's got to be Goyro. V'yesh Leima, the Ruach HaKodesh, that's the Rebbe. He tells exactly what you got to do and he knows what you got to do. The girl part of it is really yours, ultimately speaking. You get it from the Rebbe and you get them in the Sinus Koyach. But ultimately what did the Rebbe say when he took over? The Rebbe said that I am not going to refuse to assist and to help, meaning that you got to be Megali your own Inifan Ruach, your own Goyro. And the Rebbe's Goyro and the Rebbe's Ruach HaKodesh help you and they assist you and they give you the courage to say only the way the Rebbe wants and not otherwise. And that brings Be'ez Hashem taken from Yad, going back into Eretz Yisrael, Mamish the Pashtus, the simple entry of all the Jewish people into Eretz Yisrael, not with the way all these Mishagoyim and all these people that are ruining it and defiling the Jewish people, that there will be an entrance with Malkeinu, Mishichenu, Baroshenu, they'll all come with the Anan Ishmaya, even from the more distant parts of Eretz Yisrael, up to the Mokim, the Beis HaMikdash, Amen, Keini, Hirotzen, and Amen taken from Yad Mamish, and Amen with the Rebbe together.
Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Yechia the name of Rabbeinu Malcham Mashiach Goyim Vay. Ad Masa.